Welcome back to the Midlife Butterfly podcast. If you've been doing the inner work, reading, listening, understanding, and something still feels a bit off, this is for you. In this episode, I'm sharing a conversation from a doorway to home, a space I created for women who are ready to reconnect, to soften, and to come back into themselves in a deeper way. Because there comes a moment where it's not about learning more, it's about feeling it, living it, embodying it. We explore the connection between your mind, your heart, and your pelvis, and why you might feel disconnected even when you know so much. And if something in you resonates, if your body is already saying yes, this is the kind of work we move through inside my home membership. The space is open and you're welcome inside. Take what resonates and let your body guide the rest. Let's begin. Welcome, ladies, to A Doorway to Home. I am Kenna Sue, the empowerment guide from Midlife Butterfly, and I am so happy to have you here today offering neuroepigenetic breathing, which is transformational kind of somatic active meditation. Well, first of all, why this session is called A Doorway to Home? With the experience that I have had in the past years doing different programs and stuff, what I notice is that home is really here. Home is a feeling, it's not a place. And if you are here, I'm sure that it is that you've been doing a lot of inner work, you'll be taking probably workshops, you'll be taking programs, mentorship, coaching, podcast, books, how then sometimes we want to learn everything. And it's so cool. The thing is to integrate it, then it takes time, right? And sometimes we might have the knowledge and everything in the head, but then if it doesn't land in the body, it's when we come back to the beliefs, to the patterns that we're used to. Because again, the body understands it, but the body needs to feel it, needs to embody that shift, that new knowledge that we might have in the mind. And that's why this session is about working with the mind, of course, but in a way to get out of the mind. And then it's about connecting back to the heart, and as well to connect back to our pelvic floor, to the pelvis, to our womb. Because these three main fires, at the same time, we armor up to protect ourselves according to, how we live life differently. And we tend to armor that. And to come back home to ourselves, we have to be open. We gotta be willing to give and receive whatever it is that we have inside, and also what is coming from the outside, but at the same time have that awareness of saying, okay, I welcome this, but I don't want to welcome this. It's also about saying that part of yes. And when we're saying yes to something, it means that you're also saying no to something or to someone. And unfortunately, many times that no, it's against us, because we are used to give, and we're not used to receive. So for today, it's more for you to have that openness and that willingness to allow whatever it is that it has to move in your body, just to allow it and welcome it. Because the more you accept who you are, the more you get to love who you are with the shadows and the lights, it's the more you're going to feel at home with yourself. And that's the intention
for this, at least my intention, to connect you back to yourself, because all the questions and all the answers are within. You are the guru, you are your own coach, and coming back home to yourself, to your soul, the connection with the divine within you. That's how you then can live and create the life that you love. And starting with the mind, then, well, the mind is really where we build our identity, right? And that identity, I mean, what I'm going to tell you now is nothing new. It's just kind of like a reminder because we tend to forget. So the mind is where we carry everything that is, from our upbringing, for our ancestors, the culture, religion, the collective, everything, it's in there. And also is your life experiences, your memories, the trauma, the wounds, everything that you have built out throughout this life experience, right? And what happened is we keep reshaping that identity. As we grow and evolve, we keep reshaping it. And that's how we create our personality, which is our personal reality. The issue is when we don't like the reality that we are living. So it's about then, what can you shift or what can you change in your inner being, in that case, for that personal reality to be better to what you expect to experience in life. And of course, that identity keeps growing and growing. And a big part of that identity is the ego, right? And I do believe that with the ego, instead of kind of having a hate experience, have a loving experience, because the ego is always going to be there. It's the one who protects us. And I think it's just about having that awareness that is there, that the voices of the ego, they're always going to be there. But the cool part in this case with this kind of breathing technique is the fact that you can rewire all those things just by breathing. Because there's too many things hidden in our minds that we don't have a clue about them, but they are there. And the more you practice, the more you can get to make those different shifts. And then you're going to start notice them little by little in your day to day. And also with the mind is that, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have all these, the thoughts, the beliefs, the patterns, the behaviors, and a lot of them, they are actually coping mechanisms for our survival mode, coming back to the ego, right? So that's why we became like people pleasers, or we learned that we need to be the strong one or the rescuer, or even sometimes become invisible. It depends how we manage, how we, to, in that case, to use that coping mechanism to survive in different ways. The thing is that with all the teachings and the inner work that you've been doing, probably you have already outgrown a lot of those identities. And you are kind of like, yeah, I've done all this work, I know all this stuff, but it's like, how can I really like move forward with it? Because if you tend to go back, right? And again, it's about having the body there to then alchemize every cell, every atom in your body to really embody that new knowledge that is in your mind. And that's what this kind of breathing do. And then moving forward to the heart, again, because of the life experiences, we tend to close it because we want to protect ourselves, which is normal because we don't like pain and we don't want to suffer, right? But I don't know if you know, but the body is so smart, like this machinery that we are carrying, that is the most cared part of the body. Is, it's protected by the ribs, and then it's even kind of hidden behind the left lung. So how powerful our heart is, that the same body protects it that much. And besides the fact that it has around 40,000 neurons, when we want to find answers and stuff, we tend to go here. Yeah, we have more neurons here. But the intelligence and the wisdom of the heart, I mean, it cannot compare to anything. Because in your heart is really where your soul, your intuition, your goddess lives. So it's about working with the heart to open it, to break it open again. Because there's no need to protect it. The heart is already protected. It's about you letting it open to the love, to the beauty, to the tenderness, to giving and receiving, because that's the other thing. When we close it to protect ourselves, we are also closing it to receive from others, not only from giving, but we are protecting it from receiving. And if you think about it, how many things have you then not received, not allowing into your life because you are protecting yourself? So just to give it a dot over there. And the cool part is that once we get to open the heart again and have that awareness, then you're going to be able to say, hey, yeah, at this time, I want to open it, to close it, and purpose. So it's like, yeah, you get to have it open, but at the same time, when you have that awareness, you can say, no, at this moment, I choose to close it. And do it in a conscious way, of course, is different. Because then whenever you are ready again, you're going to open again. And again, it's a protective mechanism of the body. The thing is, when we tend to close the heart, we tend to close it, unfortunately, with a wound inside, instead of healing the wound and then closing the heart consciously. We close it and we leave the wound inside. So, of course, if anything that happens, as little as it is, then we're like, we feel like bleeding again and in pain, because we never took the time to really heal that wound. And one of the issues is because we were not taught to feel. Nobody taught us how to feel our emotions, the sensations, not even the sensations in the body. Because if we have a sensation, it's like, no, that should not be good. But why not? If you're feeling, there is a reason. If you're feeling an emotion, there is a reason. And as you know, there's no right or wrong emotion. It's just an emotion. Just allow it to go through you. And one of the things that has neuroepigenetic breathing is to heal through pleasure. And one of the things that I don't know you, but at least for me and a lot of women that I've been connected to, just talking about our womb, about sexuality, it's a taboo. It's like, how are you going to talk about your parts? Well, they are there for a reason. God put them there for a reason. And that's why our pelvic floor is so, so important. But first of all, because it's holding the upper body, I mean, the whole body on the top. And if that part of the body is very tight, and unfortunately, it's often very tight because we keep a lot of trauma in there. That's the first thing that we do. When something happens, what do? We close our asshole. That's the truth. It's the first thing. It's a reaction of the body to close. And that's the first thing we do. Close. And we don't notice that most of the time it's actually closed when we can actually relax it. And just, when you open your mouth and do this, and then you just breathe out, it's the same. We have lips here. And we as women, we have lips down there in our vagina too. So when we relax this part of the body, also the pelvic floor relaxes. And since this area keeps a lot of trauma, either it's personal, interpersonal, or even, transpersonal, because we are also carrying a lot of things that don't belong to us. And it's important to be aware of that, because sometimes we wonder what's going on with us, but as simple as sometimes probably doesn't belong to us. So sometimes that's what is good, if you still have your mom or grandma or something to question some things, to understand a little bit more, like what might be happening in your body. So, to going back to what I mentioned before, that neuroepigenetic breathing, it heals you, or it transmute the energy, better said, within your body through pleasure. That's the doorway to pain, because the only way to overcome pain is to go through it. There's no other way. And even when we might, have these ideas of, because of the taboo of being disgusted by, saying like the vagina, or saying womb, or these words that they're not very common to use until probably they're coming more and more. But we got to understand that they are part of us as women. And the thing is, we actually come from sex. So how is it possible that most of the information out there, they speak about the mind-body connection, but they don't speak about the heart-sex connection, which is actually how we've been created. And with that creation, as being here, like the daughter or the son in case of men, of not even our biological parents here on earth, but also the grandmother and the grandfather, who are actually the ones who decided for us to be here, being as part of the divine. And so with this neuroepigenetic breathing, what we're going to be doing is connecting these three parts within you, moving that energy, shifting that energy that is within you, not to see it as a way of like getting rid of it, but more about transmuting. Because as you know, like energy cannot be destroyed, right? It only transforms. So it's about the energy that you have in your body right now to transform it so your nervous system can regulate, so your energy centers can balance. And in a way, also, your brain rewires. And you don't have to know what's happening. That's the cool part about it. You sometimes might relate during the practice, like, oh, this is probably this is probably that. But there's no need to know. It's more about if you're feeling a sensation, then just if you can name that sensation, it's like, okay, you are there. Because when we focus on that sensation, we're coming back to the body instead of being on the mind. And that's why this kind of practice is not about setting a goal, but actually setting an intention. Just what's your intention of this practice for you? And because you don't, well, we never know what the body has to process at this very moment. And even when you're going to practice it with me now, you're then going to have, the recording, the audio recording. And then you might have a complete different experience. It's always like that, because every moment we are different. So we just need to allow the body literally to surrender and to experience whatever the body has to experience. That's it. So I don't know if any of you have any questions before I do explain the phases of the meditation. You can unmute yourselves if you have any questions or comments before I go with the explanation of the...
Hannah, I had one question.
Yes.
You mentioned if we still have our moms and our grandmothers, we should ask them questions. And I wasn't sure what questions you were suggesting that we talk to them about.
What I mean is, let's say if you're struggling with something, I'm going to give you a personal example. Like for me, I used to have a very bad scarcity mindset. But then I knew it didn't come from my family, because my father always had a job. We had vacations, we had a very good lifestyle, at least until my 20s. But I couldn't understand why I had this scarcity mindset. So I went to ask my mom, it's like, why is this coming from? And she was like, well, it's actually from your father's family and from my family. So I started, kind of exploring a bit more. And it's just then to understand, it's like, okay, it's coming from there, because I know it was not from this time, And just like my grandfather, he came to Mexico when he was like 12 years old from China without his parents. So imagine, and then the mentality of the Chinese people, work, so that helped me understand a lot of things.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, Alison.
Just a comment. It's so exciting to be in these conversations. Like it really is where it's at. Like it's when you were saying energy doesn't, like we're transmuting the energy, because I kept bumping up against bypassing, keep calm, carry on, bypass. And I was like, I kept rejecting it and digging into it. And it bothered everybody around me, because it keeps everything so safe when we just medicate, or what, not shading medication, just anything that we're just doing. Well, why can't I feel it? Why can't I have the whole cycle? So I'm very grateful. It's nice. I feel like I'm it's nice to speak the same language,
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your share.
Thank you you for tuning into Midlife Butterfly. I hope this episode empowered you in some way. Share the love by hitting follow wherever you're listening and leave a review if you feel inspired. I also love to connect with you. Come say hi on Instagram at Midlife Butterfly. I love to know you. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and live in joy, growth, and pleasure.